cabinet has been the most corrupt since the reintroduction of the multi-party state. There's no doubt about it. Never in the history of our country has the sitting Republican vice president, in this case Guy Scott, and the custodian of the justice delivery system in our country, the Minister of Justice, One Winter Kabembe, who is also chief executive of the Patriotic Front. These two gentlemen confirmed that there is corruption in the PF government. Not just overall government, but the top leadership, cabinet included in here. Have you ever heard anything like that since the history of this country's independence? That the vice president and the justice minister can stand open and confirm that there's corruption in their government. Very interesting. I don't want to extend the argument they made, but they gave a fatal combination, corruption and tribalism. That's fatal. It must not be forgotten that earlier on, these two senior members of cabinet, in fact, in this case, a different one came into the picture. The Minister of Justice Kabimba and the Minister of Defense, Mr. Geoffrey Mwamba, accused each other of corruption or being corrupt. I think we are all aware of that. Let's not forget that. The wise have told us that there is no smoke without fire. So as far as we're concerned, there is corruption going on in the PF government, as confirmed by Guy Scott, by Kabimba, as Kabimba accused GBM, and GBM accused Kabimba of corruption. The sad reality is that Mr. Sata has failed to show political will to fight this vice of corruption. Instead, he is on record hindering the work of the Anti-Corruption Commission. Mr. Sata has instructed the Anti-Corruption Commission that they would not be allowed to investigate his ministers without his knowledge and approval. This is very strange, extremely strange. Mr. Sata clearly, in no doubt, publicly announced that only with his permission would the Anti-Corruption Commission investigate his ministers. This is not provided for in the Constitution, in our Constitution. I'm unaware of it. But this gentleman is altering our Constitution without following procedures on how you amend the constitutional provisions. Can only happen under PF, not any government, not any other government. We wish to put it on record that Mr. Sata's remarks to the ACC are misplaced, unconstitutional, and have no legal basis at all. And the Anti-Corruption Commission has somehow respected those instructions, which are without a legal backing. Then it means the Anti-Corruption Commission itself is at fault. It's failing to save the people's money. That too is unacceptable. Today's press briefing, we would like to focus on the corruption and gross cheating. We want to focus on Wenye in the agricultural sector. Today we want to show you that in UPND we just don't talk about issues. We've done our research. We have facts before us, and you can verify these facts. The first item we want to deal with is the fertilizer procurement from Saudi Arabia. During the MMD rule, Mr. Sata and the PF were very strong critics of single sourcing in the procurement process. Very, very strong critics, like us. And we continue to be strong critics of single sourcing. We have come to understand now that all that loud criticism by Mr. Sata and the PF was mere hypocrisy. We would like to put on record that the single sourcing that is associated with the purchase of 50,000 metric tons of urea fertilizer from Saudi Arabia, to be specific, from Saudi Basic Industries Corporation, was single sourced. Away from the private sector, the PF government, the Ministry of Finance, strong involvement of the minister himself, Mr. Chikwanda, Deputy Minister, Secretary to the Cabinet. As you know, there is a family tree there. The President is the nephew of the Minister of Finance, and the Secretary of Treasury is brother in marriage with the President. This team made a decision to compete with the private sector in procuring fertilizer. You're already aware of that. The journalists are aware of that. But today we are showing you something else. Today we are showing you something else. As we demonstrated to you that Mr. Sata lied about his salary increment, when he said 10%, we all believed it. Very strange in this country. People believe falsehoods. Until we came to you to tell you, it wasn't 10%, it was 27%. And I wrote to Mr. Sata, to this day, this is one of the letters he has not responded. Usually you respond within hours. On this letter he has not responded, because he knows we've caught him napping. I want to use another expression. We've caught him napping and dilutes the value of the presidency. But today we want to show you a deeper aspect of this single sourcing of 50,000 metric tons of urea fertilizer from Saudi Arabia. I want to indicate to you today a very serious anomaly. Very, very serious anomaly. The minister and his team, selective team, some of his team, went to Saudi Arabia after issuing a tender to the public, to the private fertilizer companies. They looked at the prices, they looked at the quantities, they looked at this situation and saw an opportunity to make money for themselves, and decided to enter the market to procure directly using taxpayers' money. I've already talked about the absence of a tender. What did they do? They went to Saudi Arabia using taxpayers' money. Obviously, they must have had discussions there and decided how to take a cut out of the whole process. They went there and placed an order for 50,000 metric tons of urea. At the time they went to purchase, around August, September. I've got the dates. I've got even all the invoices. I'm hoping that they will argue about what I'll say today. They went out there. At that time, the price of urea, granular white urea, per metric ton was $330. That's what the price was, prevailing price. As you know, commodity prices are known. You don't go and cheat. If you are used to woofy, you go and cheat, you'll be caught. Because commodity prices are known. Fertilizer, oil, copper, cobalt, they are known. Fingertips, if you want to know. So this was the price. No one should argue about it. They went ahead and placed an order and agreed to uplift the price to $388 per metric ton. I told you I have the documents. Now, the price differential then was $58 per metric ton. That is the overpricing that these people allowed to happen. And it was not by mistake. These are people who went to school. It is by design. Let me do the quick calculation for you. At $330 per metric ton, for 50,000 metric tons, this country should have paid $16.5 million. But at $388 per metric ton, the country ended up paying $19.4 million. To the nearest $20 million. The differential in the price at the purchasing level, this man understands marketing, at a purchasing level, the differential, the loss that we encountered as a country and went into someone's pocket, I'm sure about that, is $2.9 million at that stage. Don't add the cost of allowances and all of that big team that was there. We expect the Anti-Corruption Commission to investigate this scam. Just at the buying level. Just at the buying level. And this price was announced by Honorable Sichinga. You know, this gentleman has propensity for saying anything he thinks of without thinking about ability to implement. Serious propensity. And I'll show you that today. This added cost I've given you does not include, this is the price to Dar es Salaam port. It does not include other logistical costs, cost of finance, rail freight, road freight. When Sichinga launched the first batch of fertilizer that was received, they have changed the system. I don't want to confuse you today by bringing technicalities. There is supposed to be what is called change of title. You buy a commodity, it changes title at a certain point, which means that the risks then at that point are borne by the person who takes over the title. We have not talked about that. Then you must put in place storage management systems. There's none of that. The fertilizer, the first batch came in, was being dropped on the rail siding, Serenge, around there. And if you check the trucks that were loading, they are trucks owned by relatives of the same people. Where is the stock control system? Where is it? How do we know that the fertilizer will end up with the farmer who is intended? So many things. Today I'm only talking about the tip of the iceberg. I'm provoking them to answer me. Anti-Corruption Commission, you don't need to wait for President Sata to authorize you. We expect you, Zambians expect you to move in. From what I've just said now, please move in. Then we would begin to think that Sata's pronouncement that is allergic to corruption maybe meant something. Maybe. Personally, I don't think so. Here are the other serious concerns. 97,000 metric tons of fertilizer is required under the Fertilizer Input Support Program. 50,000 tons have been procured. 47,000 tons, we don't know the procurement arrangement. I'm told now that the Minister of Finance was able to buy, without any one of you complaining, other ministers are queuing up to buy the 47,000 tons so that they too can make a bit of money. This is a government that is lying to students that they cannot increase their bursary. This is a government lying to nurses and midwives that it doesn't have money. This is a government that pays the president 27% increment and yet they give nurses and midwives 4%. This is the same government. And bakuzana kuliye ndala koma matumba mwabo ndalama zilifu. This is the government you have. On 16th of October, Bob Sichinga has quoted in many media sources indicated that the government was targeted to complete the delivery of subsidized fertilizer by end of October 2013. Today is end of October. Please remember that. Today is end of October. And Bob Sichinga made a pronouncement on the 16th of October that the government will have completed distribution of fertilizer by end of October. the 50,000 metric tons that they bought corruptly cannot be delivered here. Tazara has no capacity to deliver that here before end of February. I've done my research again. This is even against the backdrop that they have cancelled Tazara's private contracts with other people to move cargo on the Tazara. They've knocked out most of the private operators, especially those that they don't like from Zambia. And there's a conflict now between the Tanzania and Zambian government on the operation of Tazara, because there are other things that they've done. I'm not telling you today. I want them to answer. Then I'll tell you more things that are going on. Jeopardizing our relationship with Tanzania because of greed to allow a few people to make money. So I'm telling you that they will not be able to bring this fertilizer until the end of February. You know the rain season here. So how will this fertilizer help farmers? Hakuna. You are also aware that they engaged Farmers Union, NatSave, they talked about the loan asset scheme. You know Sichinga talks a lot of stuff, A lot of stuff. Just produces a lot of stuff. You know, he gets excited when he's given a platform. And I'm sure you've seen sometimes the Minister of Finance answering back. You've seen it. Like you saw it on the mineral oils. I mean, on the windfall tax. You saw it. So he announces to these farmers. And I can assure you, typical of the deception, misleading statements from this minister and his government, the minister assumes that the Zambians are gullible to his storytelling when he's supposed to be serious in that office. This is unfortunate. Clearly, given the logistical challenges that I've talked about, it is not possible to conclude today delivery of inputs to farmers. I hope someone has a different message, but that's the message I'm giving you. That wenye, boza, corruption, fatal combination. Let me move to something else. Maize marketing. The same minister informed the nation that government will procure 500,000 metric tons of maize from small-scale farmers as strategic reserves from June 2013 through the Food Reserve Agency. Government put in place measures to ensure, he said, that farmers will be paid within 14 days of delivery to FRI depots. This is Sichinga. This is a police pronouncement. This is him. In June, they will open the depots and they will buy 500,000 metric tons for strategic reserves, and that every farmer who delivers will be paid within 14 days. You sit here, you know that that's not true. You know that. The marketing exercise by the FRA could not commence until the first week of August due to lack of funds to pay the farmers. You are aware of that. This is a research document. I want Sichinga to respond and say, Againde Uraleja. Boza. But me, I'm saying he's telling lies. So I want him to say, I'm the one lying. Then we can argue, we can debate. The marketing exercise by FRA never commenced, as I said, until the first week of August. And then the marketing season was extended to October 2013 because of the late start. The minister confirmed in a statement to Parliament that 407,000 metric tons of maize from 1,231 satellite depots had been purchased by FRI. It's him talking. The value of the purchased grain, according to him, was 521 million. This is new money. It should have been 529 billion old money. And that 111 million or 20% had been paid to farmers. Wenye, It's not true. I'm saying it's not true. And that only 418 million .242 was outstanding. Clearly, the government had made no provision for funding the FRI purchases and has been typically improvising. This is what PF has been doing running our country. Ad hoc, improvising. They don't even understand the consequences of that. How can you have a government like that? How? After their hard work, farmers have been shortchanged yet again and are unable to buy inputs for the current season because they've not been paid what is due to them. The minister indicated that frantic efforts were being made to pay all farmers by 31st October 2013. Today is 31st October 2013. Are all the farmers paid? No. In case you are not sure, that's why you're answering, they are not paid. Wofi, wenye, ubera, buhata. This is your government, eh? Sometimes I go to bed on my own, I say, should I call this my government? Then one bit of me says, yes, because they were elected. Another bit says, now you are joining our Venam. Honestly speaking, they're not worth the salt. And if salt has lost its taste, put it on the floor for your feet to step on. Maize fertilizer barter system. In June 2013, the same minister announced that the government had introduced an exchange system of fertilizer and maize. I think you heard about that. Yes. With small-scale farmers, that now they'll be bartering. We go back to the 15th century, 14th century. This is PF for you, eh? And this is Sichinga for you. I hope many of you know Sichinga very well. This is him. If you don't know him, you think you have met a superhuman being. Check what he's been doing for himself. Zero. Nothing. Now he joined this bunch of people. Fatal. Completely fatal. He was speaking at a press briefing in his office, and this minister said the program would be run jointly by FISP, FRA. 4 50 kg bags of maize would be swapped with 2 50 kg bags of fertilizer. The minister said government procured fertilizer would be exchanged with maize to generate 230,000 metric tons of white maize. It's him. I'm just quoting here. Despite being advised that the program could not work because of unavailability of top-dressing fertilizer and the high prices of maize obtained in the open market, Sichinga insisted that their government would do it. Secondly, the infrastructure and modalities had not been put in place and tested. Never tested. Never tested. I don't know which textbook he read. I don't know. So I'm sure he went to Mr. Sata and says, look, I have magic for you. I'm going to solve your problems. And of course, the chief executive doesn't understand. You can't follow a man who went to school and talks so quickly and so rapid. So he says, yes, yes, minister, let's do it. Huh? You know, as of 16th October 2013, I'm looking at the document, the research document. I don't want someone to catch me and say I quoted the wrong date. On the 16th of October, as at 16th of October 2013, not a single bag of maize had been delivered to FRI warehouses. Not a single bag of maize was exchanged with fertilizer. Nothing. This is only just over 10 days or so ago, or around 10 days. Say 15 days. Nothing. The program is a complete failure and demonstrates the capacity of the minister to mislead his president. Unfortunately, through that, misleading the country. This is Sichinga. He's still the Minister of Agriculture. In the civilized world, he would have resigned by now. But he's still there. But if he resigns, where would he go? Because they went there to eat. They're eating. Where would he go? They're eating at the expense of farmers. The minister is making commitments that he is not able to deliver. Unfortunately, there is no supervisor for him. You know, ministers are supposed to be supervised by the chief executive of the government, who is the chairman of cabinet, and you know who he is. Can he supervise him? Has he got ability, capacity to supervise him? No. If I were sitting in that office, Sichinga would not even make that announcement because he knows that HH will scrutinize. He would know that. But he knows there's no one to scrutinize. This is the tragedy of our country. I also want to remind you, the banks that extended credit to FRI for procurement of maize in the 2012 agricultural season, a number of them are yet to be paid in full. Now, if you know banking, you know that this is the cost to the bank. It doesn't end there. It's a cost to the bank, and that cost is passed on to the customers, who had nothing to do with Sichinga's mediocrity. And that's why interest rates are still high, because of that gap which we call, if you like, potential for a bad debt. Then to budget for that as a banker, you increase your interest rates. You even punish your good customers because of people like Sichinga. Our lenders are punishing our borrowers. That's how the economy works. Please understand. That's how the economy works. That's why you need modern leadership, not just in cabinet, but even in the presidency. You do need that. And what do we have now? What do we have now? What do we have now? E-Bacha. E-Bacha. That's the last point. E-Bacha. The government was concerned with the poor distribution of fertilizer. To encourage private sector participation, the PF government indicated that they would introduce an E-Bacha system. And that will be introduced this year to level what they call the playing field. I don't know what playing field they meant, because I'm not sure if they understand what they meant. The pilot program would cover 10 districts. They call them productive districts: Kalomo, Choma, Monze, Mazabuka, Mumbwa, Chongwe, Kabwe, Chibombo, Kapiri, Mposhi, and Indola. This is them, not me, not us. The private sector was expected to finance and position 50,000 tons of fertilizer under this scheme to cover 241,000 farmers that were earmarked to receive inputs under the E-Bacha system. E-Bacha. You know, I was listening very carefully when they were announcing it, and I wanted to see how they would do it. You know, on one of the television programs, he was talking and even doing his fingers like that. You know, their cell phones these days in the villages and their text messages, and will be able to run this program efficiently. I looked at him like, what business has this man ever run, which has been successful? I said, let me see. Maybe I've gotten rust for the few years I've been in politics. Let me wait and see how they're going to do it. And I waited. We waited. The nation waited. Right? They even started training programs, workshops, spent a lot of money with stakeholders that were held at great expense. A tender for the supply and delivery and installation of the Commission FSP electronic e-card voucher system and the ICT equipment was advertised on Monday, 15 July 2013. Go and check. You see an advert was run for a platform to implement the e-budget. You know, you don't run a tender without spending money. To do the tender documents, we spend money, taxpayers' money. And they did it. Right? They did it. Despite numerous assurances from the Minister of Agriculture and officials of government, they could not implement this program. And what we saw was a U-turn which was publicly announced by the Minister of Finance, Minister of Agriculture, and officials that the government would not proceed with the e-budget. And they announced this on the 10th of October. This month, 10th of October. The rains are around the corner. They promised these productive districts that they would deliver fertilizer to them using the e-budget system, and that they were ready, they had the knowledge, they had the technology. 15 days ago or so, they announced that the e-budget was no more. Please, think what that means to the country. Typical of the PF government and Minister Robert, in short, Bob Sichinga, the announcement was made so late into the farming season. To date, the government has not announced or informed to the nation what modalities would replace the e-budget. Yesterday, the permanent secretary of Southern Province was in Kalomo and confirmed that there was not a single bag of inputs or fertilizer in Kalomo district. Yesterday, it's not me. Beth Mushala. I'm sure you saw the news. Not me. I'm just putting things together, you know? That's all I'm doing. Putting things together to tell a story to the people of Zambia. There's not a single bag of fertilizer. And I know that in a place called Muliambela, in Chikanta, in Kalomo district, it's been raining for a week. But hakuna fertilizer. Hakuna seed. Hakuna. Nothing. But Sichinga is still sitting in the office and flying a flag, Minister of Agriculture. Only in Zambia. Only under the PF government. Only can a thing like that happen. So there we are today, we sit without fertilizer, without an alternative. I have told a short story of corruption, single sourcing, bumping off private sector contractual obligations with Tazara to allow the corrupt fertilizer to come through, expensive fertilizer, e-voucher system that has collapsed, the maize buying from small-scale farmers have not been paid. Long list is there. None of what I've said here has backing documents. I have locked away the backing documents, the shipping documents somewhere. You can come and search my house, you will not find it. And I want you to argue. I'm enticing you to an argument. I'm saying that to Sichinga, I'm saying that to Minister of Finance, I'm saying that to Secretary of Treasury. I'm enticing you to a debate. And I would like you to walk that path. And then I want to show the nation how corrupt, how deceiving you are. And the people of Zambia are suffering because of your mediocre leadership. I pray to God to make the people of Zambia resilient to go through this traumatic time of the PF leadership and prepare for themselves a government that will understand how to run a country in a modern world. Thank you very much.
My dear colleagues from the media, this is your time now to ask questions relating to what has been presented or something incidental to what has been presented. Yes, your name and the question. Maybe you move a bit here so that you can hold it back.
Mr. President, my name is Gordon Gawad from ZNBC. Following your outline of the challenges in the agriculture sector, what then would be your description of the next season? Do you think there will be an average output of the next crop? And what would be your proposed measures to the PF government? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Gordon. The message is very clear from what we've said. It means that if inputs are not there on time and in the right quantities and also accessed by those that need the inputs, the farmers, the production, the yield will be low. That's what any ordinary person in the streets ought to expect. The implication of that is there will be limited food for the population. The meaning of limited food on the supply side for the population is an increase in the cost of food. That's the change. That's what we are pleading PF to understand, that you make one mistake, it has a trigger effect. The trigger effect is a further increase on the cost of living. So you ask to say, it's from the data that is there, you can then extrapolate that there will be an increase in the cost of living. Unfortunately, already the people of Zambia cannot afford the price of living. The majority of our people are unable to afford the price of living because of the poor policies of PF when they came into office. Now, that situation will be exacerbated, further exacerbated by this poor management of this sector. I can say something else here. You should expect a further increase in the cost of other things. For example, the cost of money. I talked about it earlier. The cost of money. Remotely, there will be an increase on that. When the cost of money goes up, the cost of everything goes up. The shirt you are wearing, that nice shirt, sir, its price will increase. The price you bought it last time you bought, if you want to replace it, if you are like me, many people think I repeat one shirt the whole week. I have one color, one design of the shirt, maybe 5 of them. They all look the same. Because I have difficulties in choosing, these things. I'm just a village. You see? So you will not be able to replace that shirt. You will be incapable of replacing that shirt. That's the meaning. Western buying, this chaotic export of food. Under the PF, for the first time, we have seen foreign trucks coming into Honorable Singombe's constituency and setting a depot under a fig tree. Unlicensed depot. I'm telling you the truth. He's there. I told you I'm a villager. I go out there all the time. And the Zimbabwean truck will be buying maize under a fig tree in Chikanda. Kalomo produces, is one of the highest producers of maize. They load 30, 40 tons. It was on to Zimbabwe and when they tell you that they have made stocks of this quantity, they don't know. They are lying because they don't know what has been exported. So where is the food security? When there will be a food crisis, Mr. Sata, since he has a portrait of Akainde in his bedroom, you'll be saying, oh, it's not me, Bashikuru. It's your poor policy. They have Akainde, yo. It is you. It's not Akainde. You chose to be a president. You must have understood the implications of being a head of state. Obviously, you didn't understand. You said you want government. When we were in the fact, we said to PF, guys, let's talk about how we run the country. You say plan, people will take us the we're vindicated today. I don't think anyone would question why that fact would not work. I pray to God, the kind one, that you were magnanimous. You showed us the way. Today, we would have been part of this religion. I went quiet. No. Advice. God, do you really think that we can advise here? Does anyone think that we can advise here? I don't think so. I wrote to Mr. Sata on his salary increment, which he lied to the people of Zambia. I told you, this is the first letter he has not responded to within hours. I think he has now chosen to ignore my advice. So I'm not sure if I should waste my grey matter on advising him. I will advise him through the public like this. When I see that he may listen, because sometimes you can see today is reasonably in a better mood. And when he doesn't get the advice of one-party state dictators and starts shouting at us the way we are being shouted at that time, stupid idiots. Now we are being shouted, what advice can you give? When I see that he's in a better mood, he may listen, I'll drop him another note. And we'll see if he will respond to it. To be honest, this country is shortchanged. The leadership of this country is below par. It doesn't inspire anyone. Look at the confusion inside there. Even when you try and cover them, even those, Daily Mail, Times, ZNBC, they try and cover them. You know the shouting, the drama that took place, was that Monday at Cabinet? That drama, at lunchtime, ZNBC showed it. 19 hours news, they censored it and cut out a lot of things. How can the president start shouting, get out, get out?
Imagine.
How?
Imagine.
The world is watching. So what advice can he get from me? If he can match out Mwamba, if he can match out the Commissioner General of ZRA, and poor Msiska, you were trying to lift the fort and it was dropping 2-3 times. It was bad. It was bad. Members of Parliament, Honorable Kombo. Who else? Mwetwa. Hey, Barumbani, gentlemen, please go and talk about that. We can't have a country's leadership behaving in that manner. So how can I advise? Me, he never liked me. Even in the past, if I sat there first in a meeting, he comes as an empty chair, he will move the other side. Because he knew that I will not tolerate that sort of behavior. Nothing. So what advice can I give? Please talk to that speaker. You debate this issue. The country should not be run like that. Vomtel, Chan, we all have a leader or speaker. You too. Please, you are my friends, colleagues. This is embarrassing the nation. This is embarrassing us in front of the world's population. It's not correct. So, I would like to advise that what environment is there for anyone to advise these people, especially this one you asked about? Hakuna. Thank you.
Some of my colleagues from the media may have questions of peculiar nature of issues that may not be related to what has been discussed.